At the beginning of the 20th century, life in this small coastal village moved slowly. The sea provided almost everything the villagers needed. Every morning the fishing boats left the harbor, and every evening they returned. Children played along the shoreline while the tide quietly moved in and out. For generations, the rhythm of the village had followed the rhythm of the sea. The older fishermen believed they understood the water better than anyone. They had seen storms, heavy tides, and restless waves, but on one particular evening, the sea began to behave in a way none of them had ever seen before. Slowly, the water in the harbor began to pull away from the shore. Within minutes, the sea had retreated farther than anyone could remember. The boats in the harbor began to tilt as the water disappeared beneath them. The villagers gathered along the docks, staring in disbelief at the emptying harbor, where water had been only moments before. The seabed slowly revealed itself. At first, a few curious villagers stepped carefully onto the wet sand. Soon others followed, walking farther into the space where the sea had always been. Fishing boats rested helplessly on the muddy ground, their ropes hanging loose from the pier. The water had pulled back so far that the edge of the sea was now barely visible. The exposed seabed stretched toward the horizon, marked by strange ridges and dark pools of water. Some villagers walked deeper into it, searching for shells, fish, and things the sea had hidden for years. But one of the oldest fishermen in the village stood still, watching the distant horizon. The seabed stretched farther than anyone had ever seen before. What had been deep water only minutes earlier was now covered with shells, stranded fish, and pools of trapped seawater. Many villagers began gathering what the sea had suddenly left behind. To them, it felt like an unexpected gift from the ocean. But not everyone was celebrating. One of the oldest fishermen in the village kept staring at the distant horizon. Something about the sea did not feel right to him. Slowly, he began walking back toward the harbor. Then he saw something far out at sea. And suddenly, he began shouting for everyone to return to the village. At first, the villagers did not understand why the old fisherman was shouting. His voice carried across the empty seabed as he waved them back towards the harbor. Slowly, people began turning around and walking back. Then someone else looked towards the horizon. Far out at sea, something dark was rising above the waterline. What they were seeing was not a storm. It was the sea itself, returning. Within seconds, curiosity turned into panic. People began running back across the exposed seabed as fast as they could. And behind them, a massive wall of water rushed toward the empty harbor. The villagers ran as fast as they could across the empty seabed. Parents pulled their children up onto the harbor docks. Within moments, the narrow streets of the village filled with people fleeing toward higher ground. The old fisherman was one of the last to leave the harbor. From the hill above the village, the people turned to look back. The sea rushed into the empty harbor with terrifying force. Boats that had rested on the seabed were suddenly lifted again. Water surged through the harbor and into the lower streets. For several long moments, the entire village watched in silence. And then, the sea began to calm again. From the hill above the harbor, the villagers watched in stunned silence. Below them, the sea slowly filled the harbor once again. After a long while, people carefully began walking back down towards the village. The harbor was changed. But the village was still standing. Boats had been moved, ropes torn loose, and debris drifted across the water. The old fisherman stood quietly at the edge of the harbor, still watching the sea. By morning, the water looked calm again, as if nothing had happened. The villagers slowly returned to their work, repairing nets and checking their boats. But no one spoke lightly about the sea after that day, because they had all seen how quickly the ocean could disappear and return